What is up, guys? Troy here, and today is Sunday, which means it's time for the weekly gaming news roundup. But first, a little note about the gameplay. Yes, it's more Aftermath Rush on the defensive side, and in this game we took quite a beating. Despite that, I still had quite a bit of fun, even though I'm not a big fan of the Epicenter map on the Aftermath DLC. And yes, there isn't any sounds. I'm kind of recording snafu again with DX Story, but hopefully this is the last video not to showcase any sound. But anyway, on to the gaming news. First up is probably the biggest news that's broke all this week, and that is, of course, that Microsoft has reversed some of their policies regarding the Xbox One. Now, they've decided to ditch the 10 family member game sharing feature, and of course the biggest one being the Kinect 24-hour check-in stipulation that was attached to the Xbox. It seems that the Kinect will now only have to check in once you first hook up the console, when you first get it to the internet. Now, overall, this doesn't actually surprise me. I definitely had a feeling that somewhere down the line, Microsoft would definitely change their tune, but I didn't think that they'd be so quick to do it right after E3. Microsoft was getting trounced in the press and among lots of gamers on the web in response to their E3 press conference, with many people now, of course, dubbing Microsoft's new console the Xbox 180 because of their whole attitude change and policy change. Now, while some of the ideas that Microsoft wanted to implement were in fact actually good ideas, and they will eventually be standard in a few years down the line, they pretty much pulled a horrible PR side of it on their hands, and the features that they want to implement could be better adopted incrementally in stages, not all at once. Internet infrastructure in the United States is basically a joke compared to lots of other parts of the world. And speaking of other parts of the world, in some places it's nearly non-existent. So I mean, you could take it either way, if it's good news or it's bad news. I guess it's good news if they're actually listening to people and realizing that the route that they were going down was not going to work with a lot of people, and I believe it was mostly affecting their bottom line on things like pre-orders. So they were certainly afraid of losing a lot of money. But of a lot of these different policies and things that they've wanted to implement, I'm sure you are going to see down the line. Some of these things are standard on PC, but this isn't to say that, you know, consoles are yes, they're a closed system, but eventually they're going to have a lot of these different DRM features that PCs have had to put up with for over a dozen years now. Next up on the newswire is that Ubisoft's new game, Tom Clancy's The Division, has been announced as an always online title. So if you're rejoicing about the fact that the Xbox One is rolling back its 24-hour check-in features because you have substandard internet access or intermittent internet access, then you probably won't be too excited about The Division being an always online title. But honestly, it was really to be expected. It's an open-world MMO. Pretty much all these types of games require an always online connection. Regardless if you're actually going to hook up and play with your friends while you're online, the world is still open and online, so they have to constantly update it. Of course, it's going to be an always online title. To me, it's not all that surprising. Now, the next bit of news is, in fact, a little bit more promising. I will link an article in the description with the embedded video for not only this news story, but all the other news stories. But Zinto from DICE goes into depth in a video about the upcoming Spectator mode for Battlefield 4. So I'm definitely excited for it. I'm glad that DICE has finally found a way to implement this much-needed feature into the Battlefield franchise. I think this will definitely raise the stakes of the esports potential surrounding Battlefield 4. I'm going to have to say sorry, console players, but so far it's been confirmed for PC only. Zinto says something along the lines of we'll see for consoles, so that's pretty vague. I'm not sure what he totally means by that. Knowing DICE and how vague they are, it's still up in the air. Now on to the last bit of news, which is somewhat depressing, but this past week, Sony released an update, a firmware update for the PlayStation 3 that started bricking systems, making them unusable for anyone who was unfortunate to have downloaded it and get their system bricked. Now they have come out this past week stating not to update your PS3 if you're prompted to, and for those affected by the latest patch, there will be a fix in the form of a new update that's scheduled to be released on the 27th of June. So it's if you updated the update this past week and it bricked your system, you're pretty much out of a console for at least a week, week and a half. And I guess Sony's not going to do much other than try to unbrick it with their new update. Way to go, Sony. Yet another bumbling misstep that's characterized your whole company this entire console generation. Now, speaking of that, starting next week, I will be doing a 3 to 4 part special edition, if you will, of the My Thoughts series. They will be about the present state of the gaming consoles and their possible future. Seeing E3 and seeing the missteps of all three companies over the past few years has really spurred me on to do this special series. If you really think that Microsoft has had a bad couple of weeks, well, it's not all rainbows and lollipops for Sony and Nintendo either. All three console companies are actually in deep trouble, and I'm probably going to cover the whole used games debate as well. There's a big issue surrounding that with the upcoming the new consoles, and they've been kind of a big staple in the current generation of consoles, even the previous generation of consoles. I want to cover the used games debate, the future of that, maybe the future of digital media versus physical media. But hopefully, I hope you guys look forward to that series. I really want to do it. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of misconceptions. And there's certainly a lot of feel-good feelings around companies like Sony. Yes, they had a good E3, they had a good press conference, but they're still in a lot of trouble, so I want to go into in-depth about things like that. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this round of weekly gaming news. Stay tuned for tomorrow on Monday. I will definitely have a new Battlefield 3 favorite maps. I'm going to tackle Conquest Small, so stay tuned for that. The week after that, I'll tackle Conquest Large. But as always, guys, I really appreciate you watching the video. I thank you for supporting me, and as always, take care.